Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talkin Nets, episode 69. Is this episode 69?
Damn, 69 on the first, game of the season. That's got to be some numerology, serendipity type action right there. That's some good shit, Keith.
Yeah, of course, this would be episode 69 on the late night. We got the late night pod. We got the late night pod. We got the late night pod after the game, after the first game. Keith McPherson and Hudson Flynn coming to you not that late, but I mean, it's about to be quarter after 10. The Nets played basketball today. That counts. We are 1-0, and Hudson and I were cranking out content. Hudson was on Twitter. I was on the gram, editing videos, making memes, just living in the moment, tweeting from my own Twitter. Just like so much talk around the Nets. Would you look at that? Everybody's talking Nets. So I guess what we'll do with this pod, this is more of our like reaction style pod. We're not going to do the segments. We're not going to drag it out too long.
We know what you want to hear about.
Yeah,
It's a
some of
big
you are
win.
going to
We want to
wake
talk
up and
about it.
hear this. You're not going to want to have a hour pod. You want to hear about the game. So I'll pass the rock to my guy, Hudson, who can lead us off talking about what we saw tonight in Brooklyn. Nets and Warriors, game 1.
Game 1, that's a big win, Keith. And man, I know we're going to go into our analysis and what we saw and all that stuff. But this game, I sent out a tweet before I even sat down to start covering the pregame. I put on my KD jersey and I felt chills. I knew tonight was the real night. Yeah, we watched him in preseason. Yeah, we knew he can do that. And we know he's not going to come out hobbling. He's not going to do any of that. But this is KD playing against his old team. And yes, it's a depleted old team. Yes, they don't have Clay. Yes, they don't have Draymond, whatever. It's KD coming out and playing with this Brooklyn Nets, playing a real rotation with real, substitutions, real changes from Nash, all these things that we're seeing for real. We don't have to talk about it anymore, Keith. This is why we started the podcast,
Yeah.
more than a year ago. It was my first episode. Keith's was a little before that. And this was why this day was the day that we had circled on our calendars for who knows how long as Nets fans, just ready to talk about the Nets. And man, I'm just so ready to do it.
Yeah, man, we're in it. I just laughed there because it's like, yo, this is the whole reason we started talking Nets for this exact moment, this exact time, the start of the KD and Kyrie era. Like when it was just an idea, when it was just a thought, it was like, yo, let's start this Nets podcast, this Nets brand under John Boy Media and build it for a year before KD steps on the court. And now it's built. And now KD is on the court, and now we're just doing what we do. And obviously, we're following the grid, the skeleton, the blueprint of talking Yanks, talking baseball, talking Giants, the rest of the John Boy Media properties. My biggest thing was like, man, I don't want us to be the weak link, but we're not the weak link at all. Like it's us two building this thing out, doing what we do, and it takes the team, right? The Yankees play well. That works well for talking Yanks. The Giants play well. That works well for talking Giants. Now, the Nets are about to play extremely well for the next few months, I would bet. And starting tonight, it wasn't close. It was never close. It wasn't even close in the first couple minutes. It's a way different feel, bro. It's a way different feel watching the Nets like this. Like I'm turning to my girl. My girl's not a big Nets fan. Shout out to her. She's sleeping. This is a late night pod. I'm trying to be quiet and not too geeked up yelling through the walls. But I turned to her. I was like, this is going to be fun. Like, this is great. I'm like, it's not even close. I'm like, our second unit is better than most of the scrub teams in the East. Like, come on, man. It's what every fan dreams of when you watch your team struggle, when you watch your team lose a bunch of games. Nets fans, we watch our team compete in the last few years and then blow games or just not be able to hang with the upper tier, the upper echelon of the NBA. And I think now we are that upper tier. We're the upper echelon in the NBA.
Exactly. And we don't have to hold on to the things that we did in the past. We don't have to hold on to the D'Lo game against the Kings. We don't have to hold on to that last game, like before everything shut down and went into the bubble against the Lakers. We're looking to the future. We're looking towards winning championships and doing stuff in the future. And I think that's just huge. And, going into this game, it was clear that this Nets team is built different. And, we knew KD was going to come out and be KD. We saw him do it in the preseason. We know he was going to turn it up a notch, in the regular season. And boom, he comes out immediately, less than 5 minutes, 10 points. Like it was nothing, because it is nothing. He played against their starting unit, in the first 5 minutes of the season. I don't care who's out there, whether it's, Clay or Draymond or whoever. If you're starting for your team in the first 5 minutes of the first game of the season, you're going to be amped up. You're going to be playing exactly as well as you can possibly play. And KD didn't care. KD just walked around people to score. It was ridiculous. He opened it up with a 3 and he just kept it coming. And it was just kind of something to watch as a Nets fan and think, you still talking about D'Lo?
Never, not me.
Like we're still talking about the glory days of the 2018 Nets. Like, yeah, that was fun. Sure, fine, whatever. We're talking about winning championships. We're talking about bigger things. We're not that rebuilding team anymore. We're not reminiscing anymore. This is the real deal.
Bro, I was talking to John. I was talking to Mr. Burn Notice about like how geeked up Nets fans were when we had D'Lo, when we had that press conference and we were like, okay, we got an NBA star or someone that can be a star. And, we were so pumped for that season. It's a way different feel. And everyone should know that I never was on the D'Lo. I'm just not, I never thought he was going to fit here. I never thought he was going to stick here. He didn't. He had 3 years here. I don't know. I'm a Kobe guy. Kobe wasn't feeling him in LA. So when he came over here, I wasn't feeling him either when I saw what he did with Swaggy P, but that's a whole nother pod. So what I'm saying is, from the D'Lo hype to now, if the D'Lo hype was Nets fans at like a 7, we're at a 10 and we're going to stay on 10 because KD is potentially going to be the best player in the league this year. We can't say that he might not be. And okay, take some of the focus off of KD for a second. I'm wearing a Kyrie Irving jersey. Don't sleep on Kyrie either. Like, it isn't just focused on KD. We have Kyrie, and then we also have guys like Joe Harris, who you see KD saying, shoot it. Shoot that, man. Like, they want Joe taking those shots. Even Spencer. Spencer was bricking. He was missing some shots in the beginning. But the confidence is in these guys to, like, shoot because the floor is different. I'm watching a game. Like, the options, bro. The options that KD has and that Kyrie has, they can get a bucket from anywhere. We're watching Kyrie shoot from the logo. We're watching KD take one step to the baseline, couple steps, and he's elevating to dunk the ball. And I'm just like, these guys, it's different. This is different. Like, if these guys play like this every night, and then, I mean, I'll ask you after I say what stood out to me the most, just the depth. Just watching the second unit come in. I started taking notes, but I was so wrapped up in it, and then I was trying to click, but I was in my notes, it's like, yo, offensively, we can do whatever we want on the floor. There's so many options and so many skilled, talented players. It doesn't matter who has the ball. It doesn't matter who takes a shot. As long as DeAndre Jordan isn't turning it over, or Spencer and DeAndre aren't doing too much. Some of that, it's the third game, so technically it's like a preseason game still. I'm not going to get on them too much. We'll see how long that lasts. But I'm like, yo, this team can literally control the game, the pace of the game, the style of play, because they have two of the best players in the world in KD and Kyrie. And then the rest of the cast, they're not like scrubs either. I saw the second unit come in, and I'm like, yo, this second unit can hang with anybody on the Warriors right now and beat them. Not just hang. I'm like, I don't think that's the Warriors thing, right? The Warriors had depth. That's how they got the championships, because they had guys like Iguodala. They had guys like Sean Livingston. They had other guys coming off the bench where they were still solid when their stars got to rest. And I mean, Steph, I don't know. Steph is back, but when you look at KD and Steph, this was KD's night. I thought there was a small chance that Steph could go off for 40, but nah. It's not happening. What's the biggest thing that stood out to you? The biggest thing to me was the depth. And I saw you put that tweet out about the third unit and how much time they're going to get when we're blowing teams out. And there's some scrub teams in the East that those guys are going to get run. What's the biggest thing that stood out to you besides that? I can give you another one if you don't got one.
No, I got a good one. The Nets have a big 3. There's no conversations about it anymore. The Nets have a big 3. They have KD, Kyrie, and Caris. And that's not a joke. Just because Caris is running the second unit does not mean that he is not part of a big three and that the Nets don't have a big three. After this game, ESPN, all these these websites and whatever are putting out all the coverage on Kyrie put up 26, KD put up 22, Caris put up 20 in the same amount of minutes.
Leading the second team,
leading our depth. It's not even just like that. It's depth. It's just it's 1A and 1B at this point. And Caris is that dude. We talked a lot about, the Manu rule. Is he going to be able to fit in? Is he going to be able to lead in the second team? Is he the best player with the ball in his hands? And the answer is just yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
He came out and he showed I can pass, I can shoot, I can score. And what I loved was that his catch and shoot and his spot up 3-point game, immaculate tonight. Yeah. Really, really, really good tonight.
It shows that he worked on it.
Exactly. He's a player that's still developing and still growing. And, he had to face a lot of disrespect in the offseason. A lot of people were like, oh, trade him and, 18 other first-round picks to maybe come close to getting Harden. During the broadcast, I forget who was saying it, but they were like, maybe like you trade Caris and like TLC and a pick and you can get Harden, because Caris is that dude. Like, it's not messing around anymore with Caris. Another player that has to deal with more disrespect than I think anyone in the league, Kyrie. Kyrie came in, and this baffled me, and I was going to put out a tweet on Talkin Nets about it, but I chose not to because I'm not going to give him the run. ESPN put him at number 28 on their top players in the NBA list.
Yeah, I saw
behind Zion. Like, all respect to Zion, but Zion played 19 games. You're going to put him ahead of Kyrie?
Yeah, I saw that. And
what are you doing? It's just ridiculous. It's just the most disrespect you've ever seen. And you can tell Kyrie is playing for something. He is playing to prove himself. He is playing to show that, it's KD, yeah, but it's KD and Kyrie. And it's not that, big of a drop off. And he's showing it. He showed it in the preseason with the way he shot, and he showed it today. And he's just a flamethrower. He, like you said, he can score with the ball no matter what. He doesn't need, screens. He doesn't need pick and rolls. He doesn't need any of that. He can score when he has the ball in his hands. And, that got me thinking later in the game when I saw a clip. I put my Matt Brooks, film study helmet on for a second there, and I watched KD and Kyrie play a little bit on the left side of the key, just dribbling a little bit. There are 4 people on that side of the court. Spencer Dinwiddie is standing alone. Kyrie finds him, easy. Spencer steps into the 3, bucket, 3-point, all day. The Nets, aside from KD and Kyrie, when they're on the court, they're open. There's no way to not leave them open. And that's what the thing with this Nets team is. In his post-game press conference, Steve Nash came out and said, we didn't work on the offense. We worked on our defense, and that was it. He didn't need to work on the offense. The offense created itself. It's KD and Kyrie doing what they do and other people being wide open to do what they do. It's not a conversation. It's not anything. I sent out a tweet. I said, the Nets are playing on rookie mode. They're playing like the Harlem Globetrotters. And they are, because on offense, there's no team that can stop them. I don't know how you can manage to cover KD and Kyrie and also do your due diligence on Joe Harris, shoots 45% from the spot up 3. Spencer Dinwiddie can shoot from 3, in this whole team. So, like, how do you stop that? You don't. So it really just hinges on the defense. And, there were some issues with the defense. Sometimes they got a little sloppy. Jared Allen wasn't always as fast in the close as we'd like it. DeAndre Jordan looked a little slow, but he's DeAndre Jordan, so he's going to be slow. But, like, aside from all that, the Nets just showed out today. And that's my big takeaway is the Nets have a big 3, and that makes everyone around those players so much better.
The Nets have a big 3, but the big 2, I feel like these guys set the tone, right? And you talked about ESPN, and I wanted to mention another thing because I heard at the end of the game, right? You watched the Yes Network post game with KD, right? I didn't get a chance to watch that. I elected to watch the Lakers get their rings, but at the end of the TNT coverage, Shaq, I think, gets on the mic and is talking to KD, and he says, what do you think about your first year head coach, how he coached today, having no NBA coaching experience? And you could tell it was definitely the type of question that he was trying to get KD off of his game. They're celebrating a win. He was trying to ask him something that would kind of poke him or maybe get him. And KD's like, like he said something along the lines like, Steve's got a lot of basketball knowledge. Don't matter if he ain't got any NBA coaching experience. He did great. We all did great. Like, basically, like what I get from KD and Kyrie, they're not beat for the media. They're veterans. Over 10 years for Kyrie, I think over 12, 13 years for KD. Like, these guys have been in it. All they want to do is hoop, win, and bring a chip back to New York. And they're looking like New York's best team with the chances to do that. And they're not going to let ESPN ranking Kyrie 28th affect that, or somebody, saying that KD is a snake, or Charles Barkley coming on saying, oh, you bandwagon with the Warriors. Now let's see what you got. They know what they're doing. Like, they came here together. They set this up for a reason. And us as fans are just blessed to see it, yo. Like, I posted a picture of me as a Nets fan as a kid, and like, there's no way to envision this until you see it. And like, I'm watching it on the court and I'm trying to just follow it and enjoy it. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy, because it's all the focus on KD, Kyrie. Yeah. And then they come off the court and you got Jared Allen, Torian Prince, Jeff Green, Landry Shamet, got to say his name, Caris LeVert. And I'm looking at these guys like, this is an NBA starting five. Like the Nets have rolled out worse starting fives than this. Like, these guys can run the court with these scrub teams in the East, and we're going to be just fine. I am praying for health again. You will probably hear me say that every episode, and we plan to ramp up the episodes and try and do one episode per every 2 games. Honestly, coming into this episode, I was like, man, I want to talk about how good CC was calling the Celtics game. I want to talk about, Jeff Green's dunk. He put his freakum dress on, boom, banged it on him in the Celtics game. And then he came out and did it again tonight. I don't know. You'll always hear me talk about Jeff Green, because when I worked at Rock Nation, he's a Rock Nation guy. I got to meet him. He was doing like some like Insignia water ad or something, and he was wild cool. Like, he was just chilling, and I got to like hang out with him for a little bit. I'm like, I'm a Jeff Green fan now. Fast forward, that was 2 years ago. Now he's on the Nets, man. I'm still just kind of blown away that like, this is our team. This is real. The wait is over. Like, we're in it now. The next game is Christmas. And what are we going to see? Like, we don't know. Every night there's going to be a wow moment. Every night there's going to be something crazy, whether it's KD dunking on somebody, or just a ridiculous shot that he makes, or Kyrie in his bag with his handles. Everybody's on it. Bleacher Report, ESPN, TNT, Overtime. Everybody's clipping up the highlights from KD, Kyrie, and this Nets team. And I'm just thankful, man. I'm glad we started this. I'm glad that there's somebody listening right now, multiple people listening right now that have come along for the ride, that have been here from either the jump or might have just came in this week because it's NBA time. And they have us to kind of be their like guides and people to take them through the season online and on the pod. And we're going to grow this thing, and we're going to watch this thing. And the goal is to be champions at the end and have a parade in New York. I said to my girl, I never thought that the Nets would bring a parade back to New York before I almost said the Knicks, before the Yankees. But like, you couldn't think that when they're in New Jersey. Like, if the New Jersey Nets win the finals, the parade is on Route 3. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just a weird universe we're living in, man. This 2020 warped year. I'll pass it back to Hudson, and then I guess we will start kind of winding this down and maybe hitting some of the things that we had in the notes before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Keith, it's just different now.
Yeah.
It's not the Nets of the past. Even like you said, you want to talk about CC. That wouldn't happen if the Nets had D'Lo on their team. We don't get CC Sabathia running color commentary, if the Nets are running it out this season with D'Lo. Like, that's just not what happens anymore. The Nets are past that. We're on to bigger and better things. And the Nets are, like, regardless, you can say New York's team, who has more. I don't care. I just care about who's playing better basketball. And right now it's the Nets. And you could probably say that about just about any team in the NBA when it comes to who's playing better basketball. So to me, it's just like, let's just watch the Nets do what they do. When I was doing the clips for the game tonight, I flashed back to a moment last season where the Nets were getting blown out. It was like a ridiculous blowout. We were down by 40 or something like that last season. And I sent out a tweet and I said, I promise I'm watching the game. I promise I'm trying to put out clips. There's just nothing to put out.
I remember that.
Jump to tonight. I had to choose what not to put out. I had so many options. I was like, okay, I can't just keep pumping these out because they're not going to get any, run on themselves. We got to give the people a chance to breathe. And I'm just like, this is just so different. And it's just like something I've been waiting for, my whole time as a basketball fan. And honestly, my whole time as a sports fan, because, I'm mostly a New York sports guy. Giants won in 2011. Yankees won in, the 2009. What's happened since then? Not much in New York.
You was too young for that. You weren't really able to really feel that.
Exactly. And now I'm here, I'm running the podcast with you, and this is what we built it for. We built it for the Nets winning a championship. And to think that we finally reached the point where here we are, the Nets are ready to go out and win that championship. And you might say I'm getting ahead of myself, but watch the game tape back. Tell me, aside from this whole team getting hurt, tell me what is going to stop this Nets team just in general. There's not even any ifs, ands, or buts about that question. It's just what is going to stop this Nets team? And I really can't think of anything.
We're playing for a championship. It's that simple, people. We have KD, we have Kyrie, we have a bunch of other talented players, guys like Joe Harris, guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, who have accolades. We can go down the list. If you're a Nets fan, we don't have to tell you. I'm assuming some people are coming into this Talkin Nets pod that are just John Boy Media fans or general NBA fans. Welcome. Come along for the ride. It is a fan's dream to watch your team struggle and know that one day that they will get better. And when it actually happens and your team is better to the point where they have championship aspirations, that is what we're in. 2020 sucked, but at the end of 2020, where we stand, we are looking at the Brooklyn Nets as potentially the favorites to come out of the East. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. We're being realistic. Hudson and I watch basketball. We watch every team. We watch the bubble. We watch seasons before this. We watch college basketball. I'm not saying we're experts, because we're not. We're fans. We're not reporters. We're not analysts. But we know what we're seeing. You'd have to be blind to watch the Nets play and not say, wow, who is going to be able to score with these guys? Who's going to be able to check these guys? Who's going to be able to defend these guys in the NBA? The Lakers, yes, the Lakers. I'm staring at the Lakers right now. I'm watching the Lakers play the Clippers. They're down 20. It's 39-19. It's the first game, right? The NFL, the NBA season is long. The NFL season is about to end. I can't wait, because it's just going to be basketball. Baseball, they're trying to delay. I am going to be so deep in basketball. And it's funny, talking to Jimmy and Jake, I never dreamed of having a podcast around the Nets, because that's not something you dream. Nets fans are not there's not even a big enough audience. We're just starting to pull all the Nets fans together. But what I said was I actually am a real Nets fan. Some people will try and pull your card with the Nets because they moved to Brooklyn and people jumped on it. Nah, I was rocking with the Nets as a middle school kid in New Jersey when Jason Kidd and them, went on their run and they played. And for me to have stuck with the Nets, even in the times when it was quiet for the Nets, and I was quiet about the Nets, there's a lot of people are oh, I didn't know you were a Nets fan. I'm yeah, there was nothing to talk about. I'm not going to be screaming from the rooftops that we went 12-70. Why would I do that? But now, yeah, I'm loud with it. I'm screaming it. People are asking me about, oh, are you more of a Nets fan than a Yankee fan? I'm no, the Yankees win. The Yankees are my favorite team because they've brought me the most joy. But now I'm looking at the Nets yo, I'm going to have fun every single night watching this team, and this is going to be a hell of a ride. And if it ends with the championship and we're covering the game and we're blessed enough to have John Boy Media, a podcast, social media, let's get after it, man. Let's do it. And man, thankfully I have Hudson as my sidekick in this thing, and we have been doing it and covering it, and we will continue to cover it, whether it's a late night pod like this that's going to come out Wednesday morning when a lot of people will be, either traveling or getting ready for the holiday. We're not going to release on, Wednesday night, Thursday, like we usually do, because that's Christmas Eve. But, we will be putting out content and we will be putting out episodes. And now let's hit our segments a little bit. We won't call them out like we usually do. Like I said, this is more of a reaction pod, but there was some news that happened this week that I'd like to speak on with Hudson. And first up, some of our old friends got waived. You hate to see it. You hate to see it because these guys used to be a part of this old Nets team, the old regime Nets, right? Our guy, Dzanan Musa, a.k.a. Dzanan Musa, a.k.a. Dzanan, a.k.a. all the confidence in the world, waived by the Pistons. Him and, what's his name? LiAngelo Ball. Him and Jello waived. And also, Rondae Hollis Jefferson was waived by the Timberwolves. I'm like, damn, they're getting these old Nets up out of the paint. They're not even on teams anymore. What'd you think when you saw Musa and RHJ waived this week? Two guys that we rooted for.
I mean, first off, if you're getting waived by the Pistons, it's not exactly a great reflection on your basketball career when it comes to being an NBA player. Not a great look.
Thanks for Bruce Brown.
Thanks for Bruce Brown. Got him for free. I think we actually got him for more than free. I think we saved a bunch of money getting him. And, you know, Bruce Brown scored for us tonight in a damn near 30-point win over the Warriors. He's going to get a ring with us. So sorry, Musa. It's tough. You know, Rondae, it's just, we care about them. We have nostalgia for them, less so for Musa, but it's just like, that was our team, you know? Like, we had at one time, we were like, Musa's the future. He's young. He's European. He's going to develop. He can shoot. He steps into those shots. He's tall. He's got some length. He can shoot it from the outside. I love it. That was what we were pinning all of our hopes on. And, you know, Keith, you're a Cowboys fan. I'm a Giants fan. Not exactly franchises that are at the top of the pile right now.
Trash. Well,
we
Cowboys disgust me.
We know what it's like to be rooting for teams that are bad and are just like looking for prospects and, you know, whatever they can do. And the Nets aren't that. And like you said before, you know, I think when you're within your own group of teams that you like, you're allowed to be a front runner when it comes to who you care about the most. And man, I love my Giants. I love a lot of the teams that I care about, but the Giants played a boring game against the Browns, and the Nets come out and do this. So who are you going to be caring about more? And honestly, who are you going to be caring about more? The current Nets or Dzanan Musa and RHJ? So it just makes me think, like, you know, how far have we come to the fact that here we are talking about them getting waived by, you know, other teams while the Nets are putting up, you know, points like this against the Warriors.
We're in the future, bro. Like, I remember telling people, I was like, man, you know, you thought 2020 was going to be this like utopia. Some people thought new year, new me, 2020 vision, bro. 2020 is going to be the year I manifest my destiny. And then like one of the worst years we've seen for a lot of reasons. But through this year, you know, 365 days, things were changing and happening. And the Brooklyn Nets got better, and they have my full attention. The Dallas Cowboys, I can't wait for the season to be over. They won last week, and they dropped in the draft. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, just end this already. The Yankees, I love the Yankees, but if they don't sign DJ LeMahieu, like I'll never, like, I don't know if I'll ever get over it. Like, I'll never understand, like, how they'll, I think they will, obviously. So, like, my Yankee fandom right now is hinging on them re-signing my favorite Yankee. The Nets have my full attention, and I'm going to enjoy this. This is going to be great. The future is now. We are in this KD future. I remember when they announced KD coming to the Nets, I was in London for the London series with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and I thought to bring my Vince Carter jersey to London just in case the Nets made a move, and they did. And I'm like, man, how long is it going to take? We're finally here. And, you know, the 2020 vision is seeing through all the bullshit of this year, seeing through all the negativity of this year, seeing what we had to go through to get to where we are now walking into 2021. And there is beauty on the other side of it. There is a whole nother world that is going to open up and emerge as soon as we get these vaccines, as soon as, you know, the numbers go down, and as soon as it gets warm again. And I put out a tweet today. I said, I am dreaming of being in the Barclays Center for this playoff run, because there's a possibility that could happen. And I'm just hoping we get there. As a sports fan, everybody that listens to this pod that either follows me knows I'm a Yankee fan first. I'd say Nets second. and then Cowboys fan third. And those are my main teams, and I root for Duke. But right now, as a podcast creator or a podcaster, a content creator, it's all about the Nets, baby. It's our world, Nets world, and you got to enjoy it. And right now, I'll take the opportunity to say I like this team. Um, I was kind of worried about the roster. I was kind of worried about how many guards we had, and Hudson and I have been talking about that since the draft. And there was this guy rumored to be coming here, and they said we are gonna have to trade the whole team for him. And I have it in my notes, but I just got this weird feeling of like, yo, leave that in the past. We don't need to talk about what's his name over there in Houston anymore. They said that the Heat were out on him on Monday, and then they said that like something might happen by Tuesday, but we're officially in the season. The games count. We're on to Boston. We're on to the Christmas game. I don't care who's still interested in this guy, Hudson. Are you still trying to like land it? Like I'm so over that. I was off it pretty quickly and then back on it and reeled me in. I'm looking at the Nets team as currently constructed. And I'm like, nah, we're good with these guys. We're good with what we got.
Yeah, you're talking about number 13 in Houston?
Yeah, yep. Same guy.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just like it was fun. It was fun thinking about, how fun the Nets were to maybe have gotten him, but it feels weird to say, I guess, but don't need him. I don't want to sacrifice this depth for anything. And like what's the point? Because I'm not one of those guys that's gonna, say, oh, he's a bad character guy. He's not going to be good in the basketball court. I don't buy into that kind of stuff. I don't like the narrative around LeBron's that and KD and that, Kyrie and all that. I don't like those narratives. I mean, I also don't like people who throw basketballs at rookies' heads, but whatever. To me, it's just Sean Marks knows what he built. If he wanted that guy, if he wanted James Harden, he could get him. He could. He wants out, Nets have the assets to trade for him. But why would they? They don't need to have that guy. They don't need to sacrifice this massive amount of amazing depth they have to get that guy, because then what? We lose that depth and we have to play KD, Kyrie, and Harden 40 minutes a night? That team doesn't succeed like this team succeeds. So to me, I'm just like, we trust in Sean Marks. In Marks we trust, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with it as is. The roster as currently constructed is fine by me. We are in the season. I'm very big on like, all right, we're in the season now. They flip the switch. These games count. Let this team keep playing together, because what's going to happen over time? They're just going to get better. They're just going to have more experience playing with each other. They're just going to build relationships off the court. They're just going to gel more. They're going to travel with each other. They're going to have different experiences that make them tighter as a unit, and that will show on the court. Like they will only get better. So if everybody in the NBA and in the sports world is talking about how great the Nets are, how great can this team be in June? I hope to see it. Now, here's some other, I guess, like housekeeping news things that we want to touch on quickly as we wrap the pod up. Cheese, please. My guy, Chris Chiozza, they requested waivers on him one day, and then they re-signed him the next day, and he's still with us. I don't know. I'm just a big cheese guy. I just like he's a little guy. He's shifty. He's quick. I like how he came in last year, late in the season or in the mid-season before the stop. Helped us out, and then I, did his thing in the bubble as well. I kind of root for like the underdog guy like him, and he was a baseball player too. So Cheese is back, and also the Nets exercised a fourth-year team option on guard Landry Shamet, which I'm watching the Clippers right now. I saw that they signed Luke Kennard. Man, I think Landry Shamet was a steal for us. I think that he's gonna like in that second unit, he's gonna get buckets. And, we exercised that fourth-year option for the 2021-22 season. So expect to see him back next year. He will earn $3.77 million next year. And the extension is eligible next offseason. He'll be a restricted free agent in 2022. And speaking of restricted free agents, Jared Allen will be a restricted free agent in 2021. We did not extend Big J, the Fro, but I'm not really worried about that. I think I told somebody on Nets Twitter, like, this guy is our past, present, and future. Like, he's got moments in the last 3-4 years. He's currently a guy that we need this year. And DeAndre Jordan is not the plan down the line. Jared Allen is another guy that over time is just going to learn more and get better. He's going to be working with Amari Stoudemire this year. Give him some time to keep developing. And I think he's our guy. He's Brooklyn's own. We drafted him. We worked with them. I think Jared Allen will be back. I don't see him going anywhere, Hudson. So what did you think about our guy Cheese, Landry Shamet, and Jared Allen?
I mean, Chiozza, I love that move. The Nets are going to have to deal with injuries at some point this season. We're not always going to have the injury report with one guy, no guys on it. It's not going to happen. There's going to be injuries. We're going to need guard depth. We have guard depth. I love it. No complaints whatsoever. Same thing with Landry Shamet. I like him. I think he was a steal. I think, even more so than Bruce Brown, that guy is going to be able to play big minutes and put up big numbers on that second unit. And I also like that he was mixed in a little bit into that first unit because he's someone who shoots lights out from three, and he's going to be left completely alone. So why not put him out there? So I love that too. Cheap, another year out of him. Absolutely love it. Jared Allen, not too concerned about it. Gives the Nets some flexibility to see how he plays this year. I don't expect him to not get re-signed considering the Nets have restricted free agent rights on him. We have the right of last refusal. If someone gives him an offer sheet, we can match it. I'm all good on all that. Honestly, in Sean Marks, I trust. And until I see a reason not to, I'm going to keep trusting in it. And the one thing that I will throw out, if we're talking about, players on the fringes, things like that, something we didn't get to talk about earlier, Reggie Perry, our guy from the podcast last week, I asked him, what's your first NBA bucket going to be? He said it was going to be a 3. He came out tonight. He did the little pump fake. Someone checked out onto him. They were calling it out on the broadcast. And then he went in, got a rebound and got his layup, got his first NBA points. And, when that guy turns out to be, a big steal for Sean Marks in the draft, he's going to be our guy. So I'm just happy to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that, I saw that tweet. I want to find the exact tweet because I was pumped when I saw that. Man, the thing about the podcast, you watch the podcast go from like 10 people listening to the first episode, more people than that listen to our first episode, but I'm just generalizing for people making podcasts. You go from 10 people to 50 people to 100 people to 200 people to 500 people. And it's just like, I don't know, it makes you feel good when you see someone that listens to the pod or that listens to the pod call something out that happened. And man, I'm trying to find this guy's handle so I can give him a shout out because I know he's listening and now I can't find it. Oh, here we go. MOYNE 7X1110. No, Revenge Moyne. Revenge Moyne at Revenge Moyne. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciated that tweet when he called out Reggie Perry doing what he said on the pod. And I immediately was like, listens to the pod because we need more people to listen to the pod and leave ratings and leave reviews and help us grow so that we can do more, so that we can just, I don't know, maybe hire some interns or hire some video editors and, do dope things that you see us doing John Boy Media with some of the other properties that have been around longer than us. We're getting there. Last but not least here, we're going to look ahead. So we have the Celtics on Christmas Day slate. Awesome. I can't wait. That's a 5:00 game on ABC, nationally televised. Then Sunday, we have the Charlotte Hornets. Both of these are road games. We'll play the Charlotte Hornets at 7. So I think what Hudson and I will probably do is record Monday, put an episode out on Monday, and then we'll have that Monday night game, Wednesday night game, and then we'll record Thursday. And, just try and hit you guys with an episode between every 2 games. We learned through the process of doing Talkin Nets, like 3 games is too much. 3 games is too much to go over, especially just like with the amount of things that happen and the time that passes. 2 is the sweet spot. So plan on getting an episode from us every 2 games. And the next 2 games are Boston and Charlotte, which I expect to be wins. We just went and bullied Boston last Friday. And I don't think the Charlotte Hornets are a team that's going to compete in the East this year. They just like Hayward just went down. They just lost Gordon Hayward. I'm not sure how long he'll be out, but um, I am pumped to play them because I like some guys on their team: Devonte Graham, LaMelo Ball, and even the kid Bridges. I saw the kid Miles Bridges. He raps. I was listening to his or watching his rap video on Sideline Sources. If you guys are into basketball, you should definitely look up Sideline Sources on Instagram. They have a great basketball account, and I saw him rapping there, and I'm like, look at this guy. So we will play them next. And that's what we got to look forward to, man. This is Talking Nets episode 69. Before I give you the sign off stuff to do and before I tell you where to find us and all that, I just want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for following. Thanks for rocking with us. When we started this in October of 2019, a little bit earlier than that, September 2019, things were a lot different. They looked a lot different. The plan was different. And, just like this whole year, plans changed and things evolved over time. And it's a good feeling to just still be here doing it. But, now that we've got the real games with KD and Kyrie, it hits another level of fun. It's not the off season. It's not these pods that some of our like core listeners and audience had to listen to, in the pandemic when it's like, I don't know, is the NBA going to play in Las Vegas or Orlando? And we talk for 15 minutes about hypotheticals. No, now we have real games to talk about. We have stats to look at. We didn't dive too much into the stats or the box score today. It's the first game. But once we, have some more numbers to look at and we have the rest of the league to look at, we'll do that as well. And we'll bring guests on still and people in the Nets world and people in the NBA world. And I don't know, maybe Fordham connections with Hudson and people that I can connect with too. But yeah, before we wrap it up, go for it, Hudson. Anything else? Closing words, closing thoughts, feelings as we are now in the KD Kyrie era 1-0.
I'm just going to say the same thing that I tweeted out before this game tipped. Whether you were here for 12 and 70 or whether you just joined the bandwagon today, whether you were here with me and Keith before it was me and Keith, or you just joined today, welcome. And this is the time that as Nets fans, we've been waiting for, as a podcast, we've been waiting for. And it's our time. It's our world, Nets world. And I'm excited to cover the Nets every day. Keith is excited to cover the Nets every day. And I know you guys are excited to cover and talk about the Nets every day just as much as we are. So let's just keep it rolling. Let's have a good time this season.
Yeah, man. How beautiful would it be to cover this season, putting out podcasts, putting out clips, putting out videos, memes, just, creating content around this team. And then we get to the end of the playoff run and they start letting people in the Barclays Center. And maybe we can do a Talkin Nets event where we have a block of seats and, we have some fans join us and, we can actually start getting back to doing what we really do. The internet stuff and computer stuff is cool. I'm not a computer nerd though. I just learned how to edit videos and do social media and stuff. I'm a real life person. I like to go to the real game and mix it up and meet people and connect with fans and, have those shared experiences and have those real life moments. So that's what we're trying to get to. And we appreciate you helping us get there. And if you could do this for us, it will only help us out more. Leave a review on this pod. Tell us what you thought about the game. Tell us what you think about us. If you hate me, let me know. If you love Hudson, let him know. Whatever you want to write, please leave 5 stars, though, because it's super lame when people leave 1 star and bring your rating down. It's like people that make podcasts know the deal. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. Follow us online at Talkin Nets, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me at Keith McPherson, Keith_McPherson on Twitter, all together on Instagram. Hudson Flynn, where can they find you?
You can find me at Hudson Flynn _, but who cares about that? Follow the brand. Follow at Talkin Nets, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm running the Twitter, and we've grown a heck of a lot in these last couple of weeks. We're up to just about 2K. If you can be that 2000th follower, you get a big shout out. So I'm just excited to keep growing, to keep covering the Nets. So just give it a follow and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and follow John Boy Media. This whole thing started, me talking to Jimmy. And this was one of my first projects when I came on to John Boy Media. And I took it on and I said, yo, I'm going to grow this. I was a fan of Talking Yanks. So to see the Nets get a talking pod, I knew there was Talking Knicks. And I actually reached out to Jake and I was like, but we're Nets fans. We don't like the Knicks. And the next thing you know, Talking Nets exists. And here we are. So follow John Boy Media on everything and stick with us as we ride out through this season. We want to get voicemails. Call the voicemail. That's the way that you can be heard on the pod. We just asked for interns, and there's a lot of people that hit me up asking to be on the pod. And it's like, you can't just co-host a pod with Hudson and I because you send an email, but you can leave a voicemail and we'll play your voicemail on the pod. The number is 201 North Jersey, 201-870-0461. Leave a message under a minute about the Nets, about the pod, and you'll be on the next episode. And that's all we got for you, man. That was a fun game. We're 3-0 in the 3 games that we've watched in the last week or so. They've all been fun. This team is going to be fun. That's what it's all about. It's the most exciting basketball you're going to see for the Brooklyn Nets, maybe ever. So let's enjoy it, man. Let's enjoy it. Hudson, you got anything else?
Nah, Keith, sign it off.
That's it. Celtics. Where is Kyrie? All that. Yeah, okay. We about to go bust them up again. Might even bring the sage again. And I'm going to be in my house like, let's go Nets, Brooklyn.